Peter Callis, the hospitality director at First Presbyterian Church in Berkeley, and we're going to make cinnamon rolls today because of all the requests we've gotten over the years of serving cinnamon rolls for Christmas coffee. Let's get started. First, we need to mix all the wet ingredients to get the yeast activated. I am going to add the 3/4 cups of buttermilk, 1 tablespoon of yeast. I have 1 whole egg and 4 egg yolks. That's what gives this cinnamon roll a lot of its richness. The buttermilk gives some of that acidity and tanginess. We're going to activate the yeast with 1/2 cup of sugar. And we have a stick of melted butter. I'm going to mix all those together, choosing a whisk, but you can use a fork or a spatula. I just want a little bit of homogeneity. And then I'm going to add it to the KitchenAid with the dough hook attachment. I have 3 cups of flour. I'm going to add that. At this point, you can add your 1 tablespoon of salt. And we are going to mix it until it comes together. You're going to want to knead this until it forms a ball, about 3 to 4 minutes. The hook off, take the bowl off, remove the dough from the hook, remove the dough from the bowl using a rubber spatula or a pastry scraper, whatever you have in your house. Now you want to knead this into a ball with your hands, your palms, but you don't have to knead much more from here. So at this point you want to put it in the fridge and rest overnight because you want the yeast to ferment and add a lot of flavor. So while the cinnamon roll dough is fermenting, we are going to prepare the filling, and you can either go the classic route with the brown sugar mixed with cinnamon, or if you have the option, I choose to use a brown sugar substitute, these persimmons. So instead of the classic cinnamon roll, today we're going to be making persimmon rolls. So I'm going to cut the tops off to these persimmons, and you'll see the inside is nice and ripe. If when you cut you see any gray matter or large seeds, you can just cut those out or scoop them out. And I like to leave the skins in because it's getting pureed. It will all get chopped up, and that's just added fiber. To this container, I've had 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and a teaspoon of salt. And you can also do this in a Cuisinart. You can also do it in a blender because it's such a little amount of filling. I choose to use a stick blender here. See, it's so ripe that even the skin just gets pureed up. So we've made the persimmon roll filling, and now we want to make the cream cheese frosting that goes on top. First, I want to start with another stick of butter and a teaspoon of salt. Make sure everything is room temperature. You're going to have a better time getting this frosting together without a lot of lumps. If it's not room temperature, you're going to have to wait at this stage to just beat it until you don't see anything more and it's just light and fluffy. After you've beaten the butter, you can add your 8 ounces of cream cheese. And then you want to incorporate that cream cheese into the butter. Next is the powdered sugar. I have 2 cups. Start slow and then continue to increase speed so you don't have a big powdered sugar bomb. So right now your motor of the engine is going to make it look like this frosting is ready. But we want to add more liquid to soften it up. And I have homemade vanilla extract here. And I also have lemon juice. You can use lemon juice, lime juice, orange zest, whatever flavor of frosting you like. I like lemon because it just sort of accents the tanginess of the cream cheese frosting to begin with. So we have the filling made, we have the frosting done, and we've let our dough rest or ferment overnight and get a little bit back up to room temperature. Now we're ready to roll it. So what we want to do is make a rectangle, preferably around 18 by 12 inches. When rolling, you always want to start from the center of the ball and work outwards. You also can move it, flip it, and if it happens to stick to your table, you can add a little flour. All right, 2 handspans with a little gap in the middle. I'm long enough, 1 handspan with half a hand left. I think I have a close enough approximation to a rectangle. So we're going to get the filling, and we're going to get some melted butter. And we are going to brush some butter onto the rolled out dough. This step originally was to make sure that if you had a brown sugar, dry, crumbly filling, it would have something to adhere to. Now it's just a step to add more flavor. I also didn't brush any butter on this 2-inch strip because this strip is going to connect to the bottom of this and try to keep it adhered so that filling isn't squishing out. Now, a rectangle like this doesn't need more than about 2 scoops or up to 1 cup of filling. But I want you to treat this cinnamon roll like it was a pizza that you're making at home. So sauce very thin, but make sure you get to all of the surface. Okay, from this step, we're now going to roll. I like to roll and squeeze from the center because what you'll see is as it's being rolled, the center always tends to poof up more than the ends. So if I roll and kind of press down, it becomes more of an even log. And I have it so that seam side is down. Now from here, I'm going to grab a cutting board and a knife, and we'll transfer it over to cut on a cutting board so we don't dull our knives. Now depending on how you cut will determine how tall your cinnamon rolls are. We've been cutting these logs into 12. In order to do that, usually we just cut it in half. Cut those halves in halves. And then cut those halves in thirds. I like to put the end pieces near the center. And I'm always doing cut side up and the ends down. When proofing for the second time, they don't balloon up a lot. They've risen a little bit. See, there's still a little bit of space here on the edges. At this point, we're going to bake them in an oven at 350 degrees. And you're gonna check them in about 30 minutes. So we're done baking. They have browned on top. So with the springform pan, I can easily take the sides off. I can slide it off the bottom. I can use a knife or I can pull apart, like so. And then everyone has a different preference. Some people like the sides, others like the innermost pieces because they know they're going to have the most softness. If we cut into one, you'll see everything's fully cooked. You see all the bubbles and there's just a little bit of softness there. That's when you know you're going to have nice soft bites. Basically have this cream cheese frosting we made earlier, and it has a lot of structure to it, so you can pipe it, you can spread it. It all depends on how much topping you want, but there's one example. Alright, so if you're dreaming of eating a Cinnabon this season and can't get out there because of the pandemic, then feel free to follow this recipe. There's a link to the recipe in the description down below. And if you do end up baking these, take some pictures and send them to peterc@fpc.berkeley.org. And have a safe Merry Christmas.